Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. We've got plenty of questions for you today. We're going to jump to them in just a moment, but before we do, we've got a couple of important things to say. First of all, like, share, subscribe. You know the YouTube magic. Help us grow the Kendo population by 376.473 million, billion, quadrillion people in the next 45 seconds, okay? All you have to do is like, share, subscribe, and what's really important is you use the comment section to leave a comment down below using the word Kendo, all right? So that we don't end up getting all those people starting some other activity, okay? Don't want them all starting, I don't know, rock climbing or skiing or something, all right? Nothing wrong with those things, but they're not as good as Kendo, right? So do that. And if you like the show, if you like the videos that I put out, whether it's these Q&A videos, whether it's feedback videos, instructional videos, got more of that coming soon, analysis videos, the fantastic interview that I put out earlier this week with the fantastic Yuki Ogata Sensei, current All Japan Women's 7th Dan champion. If you haven't seen that video yet, go and watch it. It is a fantastic interview. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever done. I absolutely thought it was brilliant. I really enjoyed the answers that she gave to the questions, even if you have to put up with my really basic Japanese ability whilst I was nervous, turning bright red, trying to read questions, shaking like this, sensei, like this, right? You have to put up with a bit of that. But the answers to her questions are absolutely fantastic, all right? So go and watch it, all right? Go and watch it. And if you like all that stuff, it all comes to you free of charge. All you have to do to support it, it's a real win-win. It's shop at KendoStar.com. Yes, KendoStar.com is the best Kendo equipment website in the history and future of the human race. Now, of course, I would say that because I own the place, but everybody agrees with me, all right? It's brilliant. You're going to shop with us in the end, all right? So don't buy twice, buy right first time round at the best Kendo equipment website ever, KendoStar.com. Now, one more thing to talk about before I jump into the questions. Last week, we did a little product plug. We talked about the fantastic Horse-End series of products now available at KendoStar. This week is something different. I just talked about the fantastic interview that I put out just on Monday with Yuki Ogata Sensei. Well, I've got even more fantastic news for you. Yuki and Mari in Manchester is coming in June. This is a fantastic Kendo seminar that we are hosting in Manchester, UK, all right? Now, I understand that this show is popular around the world. Manchester might be a long way away for a lot of you, but I think this is a fantastic opportunity to practice with two of the best Kendoka in the world, to be honest. This is not a seminar that's for a specific group of people. It's entirely open. Any gender, everyone's welcome if you're in Borgo, all right? It's going to be a brilliant event. We've got a great venue right in the middle of Manchester. Easy access from airports and train stations, loads of accommodation and stuff around there. And you, again, getting access to both Yuki Ogata Sensei and Mari Suenaga Sensei. Mari Suenaga, of course, being 3-time All Japan Women's Champion. Yuki Sensei also being former All Japan Women's Champion. 5 times on the Japanese team. Yeah. Mari Suenaga Sensei has been on 5 times. Yuki Sensei has also been on the Japanese team as well. This is such a high level, fantastic opportunity. All right. Details of it are all on Facebook and stuff. And there's a link to the tickets in the description down below. So check it out if you've got time during that month, 21st, 22nd June. Fancy a trip to Manchester? It's going to be great. Okay, right. Hello, Fish Sensei. Congratulations on becoming 7th Dan. Thank you very much. Could you give some advice? I'm taller, longer-limbed than most people in my dojo. My sensei suggests I take advantage of this and fight from slightly further back because I can hit sooner. because I can hit them sooner than they can hit me. But I feel as though because I'm further away, it takes longer to reach them if I initiate an attack, and they can block or counter me relatively easily. Do you think this is because I'm not fast enough to launch myself forward with the left foot, or that I'm not setting up my attacks enough? And if so, could you give me some advice? Okay, so I think this is really common advice for people who are very tall and have long limbs, and I think it has merit, but I think that it's a little bit overemphasized personally, all right? Because you're dead right. As a person that is not in that fantastic position of being very tall, I am very much experienced being on the opposite side of that, all right? Especially as someone who, you know, I was a competitor in Europe for a long time. Lots of my opponents were very tall. So for me, like, I felt that there's two types, all right? The guys who I would fight against that were very tall, it was very rare to find ones that were effective from attacking at a long distance, all right? Because I could see the attack coming from far away. I know that they were tall, they could leap far. But at the same time, you know, of course, the Shinai doesn't have to travel as far as it does for me to cover that distance because they've got longer arms. There's that as well. But I did feel like I had more time to respond because they were coming in from a further distance. But the guys that used that really, really well were able to make me feel like I was at risk of being hit both from the far distance and from the close distance, all right? So, because all I found is that, all right, if I was against somebody that was tall and they were able to hit from a far distance, I'd just step in closer and take that advantage away from them. And then if I was better at hitting a close distance than they were, then I was at an advantage, right? So, it's a bit of a balance. What I would recommend is I think all Kendoka should try and be as effective as they possibly can from a wider variety of distances, not just, oh, you're tall, you should fight from a far distance, oh, you're short, you should fight from a closer distance. I think you have to be kind of a little bit intelligent to use all distances effectively. So it's going to come with experience, but if you can make your opponent feel from this far distance like they're at threat of being not just attacked but actually struck, all right, then that can be really useful. Now, the way I would do, now I'm not in that position, as I've said, but the way I would think about that, for example, is if you want to hit the men from far away, I think a good strategy to do that is to have them think that their kote is in danger from that far distance as well. So perhaps if you were, for example, at this far distance, had them think you were going to hit the men and then bam, hit the kote. Maybe it doesn't make the ippon, whatever, but bam, hit the kote. Then after that, they're going to be a lot more reluctant to sort of raise their hands to block or try to counter you in that way. So it's going to be a lot harder for them to deal with then when you attack the men from the far distance, because they're less reluctant. They're going to worry you're going to hit the kote instead. Then you're going to have more success with it. So it's going to take experience and practice, but I think it can be used. But it's not just about speed. That is part of it, of course, but I think it's about strategy as well. All right, so it's about getting your opponent to feel like where they are at most risks or where they're not. Do you know what I mean? So that you can kind of control the situation. It's going to take years of practice, don't get me wrong. It's not going to come soon. All right, that's where I sort of stand on that. Okay, next one. It says, hello, Fisher Sensei. I have 3 questions. 1, in Jodan, I always see practitioners swinging the shinai with only their left hand. I was wondering if it's possible to swing with both hands or even while stepping forward with the right foot at the same time. 2, in Nitoryu, is the primary reason for holding the longest shinai near the bottom handle to maximize range? And 3, in Nitoryu, can a practitioner choose which hand holds the longer and shorter shinai, or is there a specific rule for this? Thank you very much in advance. Okay, great. So, 1. Generally, from Jodan, people tend to use the one-handed strikes because that's one of the main advantages of playing from Jodan is it gives you that extra range. So you can hit from like, you know, a longer distance that a Jodan player can't necessarily deal with. But of course it is possible and it's perfectly valid to use two-handed strikes, and many Jodan players do it. And often as they do it, they'll step through on the right foot as well. So both of those things are perfectly valid, and they are used a lot. If you watch some like successful Jodan players from Japan, you'll see that they mix it up between one-handed strikes and two-handed strikes, and they will step through on the right leg as well as the left leg. Okay, and in terms of Nitoryu, the primary reason for, the reason you hold the longer shinai near the bottom is twofold. One is so that yes, you get extra reach, but two, so that you maximize the sort of efficacy of the shinai itself. All right, so that you can strike with good tenuichi and sae. Okay, so it's the same as making two-handed strikes from Jodan. All right, this is why we control the power of our strike, and most of the control of the strike comes from the left hand, because it's the furthest away from the tip of the shinai, so that we're able to get the full flexion of the shinai from one end to another. All right, so that the shinai itself can be allowed to fully flex and therefore create a solid strike without the use of just bashing. If you use your right hand, or if you were to use in Nitori, if you were to hit with the hand near to the tsuba, then of course you're kind of holding, you know, your own the point from which, you know, the points between the shinai is going to flex at that point is much shorter. All right, so the shinai is not going to be as effective. You're not going to get as effective tenuichi or sae, and you're also more likely to break the shinai sooner. And that's another reason that people doing Jodan with two hands break shinai quite quickly, is because they're using the right hand as the point of sort of flexing between. It becomes the shinai becomes essentially flexing between the tip and the tsuba, rather than the tip and the tsukagashira, the end of the shinai. Okay. And in terms of can a practitioner choose which hand holds the longer and shorter shinai as a specific? No, there's no rule. You can hold in either hand, and you can have either foot in front. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to do both. Okay, they've got names. One's called Sei Nito, and one's called Gyaku Nito, and I think that refers to which hands hold the shinai rather than which feet are in front or not. But I don't know. I don't know much about it. To be honest, because I'm not a Nito player, and it's pretty rare. So yeah, but you can do either. It's fine, whatever is more comfortable for you. Next one. Hello, Fish Sensei. This might have come up before, but is there a specific rank, reason, or point in training where you can stop calling out the target names, men, kote, etc.? I've heard some people say they are still calling them, but let's be honest, sometimes it's hard to believe there's an actual word in there. Sorry. I've got this sort of hay fever allergies coming up right now, so that's why my voice might start to sound a bit funny. Is there an official rule on this, or is it just something that naturally happens over time? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you. Okay, so I've talked about this before. So first off, there's two things about this, right? First off, in the rules, in the rule books, right? There's nothing that says what you have to say. You can't. It doesn't say you have to say men or kote or do or tsuki. All right. Which is why, for example, in some countries where they don't use Japanese terminology, they use their own language to call them out. Like in Korea, for example, I understand in South Korea there's at least some aspects of it. Probably, I don't know how much. I've never done Kendo in South Korea. I've been there, but I've never done Kendo there. I think they use different terminology. Having said that, so it's not against the rules. Having said that, right? I understand that when you watch like high level Kendo from Japan, doesn't always sound like they're saying men, kote, do, and tsuki. But they are. I know it doesn't sound like it always, but they are. Now, outside of Japan, I can't necessarily say for sure, and I'm sure there's people that don't say that. but like from a sort of Japanese language point of view, their voice, it's not clearly, for example, saying me and or kote or do or tsuki, right? It might not definitely be saying that exactly, but it is effectively men kote do tsuki. Let me see if I can get a video, and we can see if we can get an example. Let's see what we can get. Let me see what I can get for you. Let's see if something comes up here. Right. Okay. So let me see if I can include a little video on here. Is that going to come up? There it is. Okay. Look. See, we're working with magic here. Okay. So here we've got the final of the All Japan Championships from last year. Are we going to get sound if we hit play on that? We're going to get some sound. Yeah, I'm going to turn it up as well so that you can hear what they're doing. Should we see if we can get to the Ippon? Right, so we'll see how it sounds. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head what the sounds sound like. Let's have a look. Okay, so you can't really hear his voice because of the crowd. Let's listen again. I'm pretty sure he's saying kote. Now, it might not sound like he says kote, but I think he's either saying kote or like this, right? Which is kote kind of thing, yeah? Something like that, anyway. Or some kind of... So it's a kind of modified version of it, shall we say? But I am confident that he is saying the word. Let's see about the other one. Okay, so this is men as well. Yeah, he says men. I think it's common actually is they'll say like men, and then say afterwards. Like, men. Yeah. This is a kind of a common one rather than man. Sometimes they say man, but even that is man, right? From a Japanese sort of listening point of view, you could say that. In other words, I think the intention of saying it is there, even though if the sound itself gets a little bit changed. But I do believe, if I'm honest with you, I do believe that they are actually saying kote men do. The only one that's a little bit different is tsuki, all right? Sometimes the Japanese players, they don't say tsuki. Sometimes they do like that. But often I've also heard them say like tsita, like that. Which it's kind of the same thing, because basically it's the same word, but what they're using it in the past tense. So they're saying like it's kind of like they're saying like that was a ski, or I did the ski, rather than just ski. So that is something that they say. But other than that, they are actually saying that. Okay, most of the time. Okay. I know it's hard to believe. Hi Sensei, I hope all is well. I have a Shiai early next month that I'm very much looking forward to. Great. However, I have a question. Whenever I compete, I have plans in my mind for how to create openings or what was I'm trying to accomplish. In Jigeko, I have no issues and I'm able to stick to the plan, but when I compete, suddenly I seem to just attack men over and over, and my plans to practice kind of go out the window. My question is, do you have any advice on how to stick to the plan in competition? Thanks for your input. Okay, so this is obviously a common issue. Lots of people experience this, and it's I mean this in a kind of, I don't mean this in a patronizing or sort of negative way, but it's an experience, all right? It's an experience, okay? And it's natural because in general we don't get much opportunity to practice in Shiai, certainly in formal shiai. Okay, compared to our Japanese counterparts. So Japanese kids, for example, my daughter is a high school student right now in Japan, and she has a shiai every week, pretty much every week. Okay, and they practice shiai in the dojo practice, several times a week. She practices 6 days a week, at least 5 days a week, maybe 6 or even 7 if there isn't a shiai. But she'll practice 5 days a week, and then weekend is usually the shiai. And then during those daytime practices, there's like 3 hours. Their practice is 3 hours long every day. So at least 2 or 3 times a week, they're going to do shiai practice as well. So they have a lot of experience of doing the shiai practice. All right, and we don't get exposed to that, so it's natural for us to, to feel like nervous when we go to shiai. It's kind of a rare thing. With experience, it will come. But all I can say is it's just a case of keeping on top of your nerves, breathing deeply, trying to stay calm, and then, just remember that the shiai isn't like, I'm going to say, it's not a case of it's not fighting for your life, all right? Now, it is a serious, you have to try your best to win, but you have to try your best not to let everything go out the window at the same time, all right? So you have to try to remain calm, keep on control of your emotions, all right? This is part of what Kendo teaches us, right? This is why we do it, is so that we can learn to control our emotions in stressful situations, and just try to keep calm. Now, one thing that I like to do is and I think is a good thing to try and do, is for the first, let's say 20 seconds of the shiai, or even 30 seconds, try not to go on the attack, but instead try to collect data. All right. Now, what I mean by collect data is try to get a feel for your opponent, find out what type of kendo they do. Don't worry about attacking too much right now. Just figure out what's going on. What kind of player is this person you're paired with? All right. And then you can use that information to construct your strategy. All right. And I think if you kind of try to make a commitment to yourself to do that in the first 20 seconds or so, it might help you calm down in the beginning of the match, and you won't get too, carried away. All right. It's not easy. Okay. All right, last one. Nice, short, snappy episode today. Hi, Sensei. I recently competed in a tournament whilst observing Ramadan. I was struggling quite a bit during the tournament due to the fatigue, hunger, and others. Do you have any tips on competing whilst not in the best physical condition? Okay, so this is a very difficult one for me to answer because I do not have that experience, okay? And my strategy for competition is to make sure that I'm properly hydrated and properly, I've taken enough nutrients, and that's obviously very difficult if you're observing, Ramadan. I think the most important thing is that you remain safe. Okay, that you remain safe and you behave sensibly, and no victory in any tournament is ever going to be worth damage to your physical condition. Okay, and at the same time, it's not worth compromising on your beliefs either. So I think what you have to do is, I think for tournaments during that time, you have to just try to, if you definitely wish to compete, then I think you have to do so with the right frame of mind and be very realistic. You don't push yourself too hard and you don't expect too much of yourself. Okay, I think that's the most important thing, and you take it for the experience. And if you don't exert yourself too much, and you don't beat yourself up about any results, all right? Because I think it's simply an unavoidable situation, isn't it? all right? Because I definitely wouldn't suggest you, you overexert yourself when you're potentially physically compromised. And I don't think that, I naturally completely understand and respect the requirement to observe the practice of Ramadan. So that's something that you should keep in mind. I think you just have to be careful, and then just don't place too many high expectations on yourself. Okay, it's probably the best thing I can say. And there we go. We're at the end of the show already. So, link to the seminar is in the description down below. Shop at KendoStar, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.